We've been making music for an incredibly long time. Sometime around 2003, we decided that rather than wait for anybody to help us make records, we would just make a record ourselves. And that became the first Field Music album. Since then, we've made 4 albums as Field Music. We took a break in 2007, 2008, where we both made records more separately.
Generally, the idea is that our studio is for us to go make music in. So we started writing some songs, and we didn't really know that it was a Field Music album until we at least started 3, maybe 4 of the songs, and it was only then that we realised that we could make another Field Music album. I suppose the idea with Field Music is that we're influenced by everything that we listen to that we like, and it all should become part of the idea that we take on board. Any music we hear that we like, we take it on board.
I generally don't like genre classifications. Most music that I really love seems to transcend whichever genre it came from. So you don't think that David Bowie is glam rock. David Bowie is all music, or the best Beach Boys albums aren't surf music. And I don't think we've done that yet. But that kind of drive to try new things out and take in anything, and hopefully eventually create your own context which goes beyond genre. Well, I think one of the good things about pop music is it's defined. It's not. It's very voracious. It can take in everything. It's always taking in influences from other sources.
That's the tradition of it.
That's the tradition of it. Whereas the tradition of jazz, for instance, is restricted in terms of its instrumentation and the structures of the pieces of music. The good thing about pop music should be is that we take anything.
We have a friend called Swa, S-W-A.
Okay.
So the original title for the song was C'est Soir, Says Soir.
This particular friend often instigates our social nights out.
Yeah.
And quite often we would say "ce soir" to mean should we go out tonight? Should we go to the pub tonight?
Yeah.
What is your position regarding?
It's not ideal for anyone in a band. It's not ideal for anyone who doesn't. We don't make lots of income from other things. If you're very famous, you make income from being famous. We make income from selling records and going out to play. However, it's the fact of illegal download and the fact that all of these records are available if you want them for free, that is not going to change. So anyone involved in music just has to accept it and get on with the other things. Yeah, so
we try to do to change.
So we want people to hear the music.
Yeah.
We hope that if people hear the music, they'll care enough about it to buy the record. If they hear that through illegal downloading, that's not great, but it's okay. If they hear it because we give away a few songs, that's the ideal way for us to combat it.
Our audience is very small, so it's quite easy to get around everybody, one by one, shake people's hands and say, how are you doing? I don't feel separate from an audience. So well, being on a stage playing, that only lasts for about an hour, and then for the other 3 hours, you have to be away from home. 23 hours, that's right. There might be 3 or 4 hours driving, so you have to take all that into account. 4 hours,
Personally, I don't mind being in the van, but I do prefer being in the studio.
Okay.
On stage.
And why do you prefer?
Mainly because it feels like it's the closest to the act of creation. To write and to try out ideas out. It is my favourite thing, the thing which gives me most happiness and most satisfaction. I think whenever we make a record, we make it across a relatively short period of time. We have a certain set of preoccupations, things that we're thinking about most. So while we might never sit down and say, this is the idea for this record,
I would like to think there are lots of ideas in the album, really.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that we were, as Dave says, we were preoccupied at the time. I don't think we ever do anything.
We don't do things.
I don't think we ever say, this is a song about, celebrate. Let's celebrate good times, something like that. We've never done that. But I don't think we've ever done anything miserable, because my life's not like that. It's just a normal everyday life, but it has its own.
You appreciate happiness more when you know that there's been sadness, or there's been things aren't perfect, but that can mean you appreciate happiness more. At the same time, if you feel down, the best thing you can do mostly is to laugh about it. And I think that is probably in our lyrics and in our approach to making music quite a bit.
Well, I mean, when not that. We are involved in the music industry, obviously, but we don't get ourselves. I don't think it would change very much whether. I mean, for instance, if we weren't on a label, if we weren't on Memphis Industries, we would still have our own studio. If we weren't even releasing records, we would still have our own studio, and me and Dave would still make music. So I'm not saying that we make music in isolation to the music industry, but we don't really concern. I don't think we concern ourselves too much about it, and I don't think it affects the music that we make that much. In the music industry, it seems to me, it's not really. It just doesn't have as much money as it had in the mid-90s, where it had a ludicrous amount of money. It spent too much money on things which weren't very good. So I think it's in a better state now than it's ever been. I mean, we have our label, we work very hard, but they're all kind of in a similar boat to us. They aren't on a big scale. They do little things, and they work very, very hard. And so those people that we work with within the industry, who probably work harder than us and don't get to make music, they get their work for somebody else. I suppose what I'm trying to say is I think we have the right set of people, the right kind of people around us that